So a lot of people have asked me, what are your thoughts on Lonzo Ball? I think Lonzo Ball is on fire this year. No, for real, I wouldn't buy any Lonzo Ball. Throw him out.
I'm in your atmosphere. Never coming down.
Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Red Cape Sports. Mitch and Bird back on the set in the studio, not in a basement. Just
no, we're in a studio.
We're in a studio. I don't know where people get that from.
Yeah.
This is going to be another chilled, laid back episode because it seems like you all like those episodes. So before we jump into the episode, obviously you guys can tell by the title, maybe even by the thumbnail, we're going to go over 7 months ago. Mitch and I did our $100 budget video, and we were just talking about it the other day. I was like, man, like, I was mentioning all these guys, and they've really performed well, and so have their cards. So we will get into that. But before, because Bird always delays results, we got this awesome mail day from our sister Shanae.
Shanae.
I don't know if she watches our stuff, but it seems like she does. And basically, the gist of it is, this gift will help provide sports equipment and uniforms, while also helping fund sports clubs where girls and boys can equally participate within a fun, safe, and inclusive environment. So she made that donation on behalf of Red Cape Sports. That is absolutely incredible. I'm a firm believer that sports do so much for people's mental health, physical health, and just overall well-being, you know? For lack of a better term, keeps you off the street.
Well, keeps you competitive too. You know, Bert and I were going over our cards that went up and down, and we're like, you know, we're competitive with it, but in a good way. So it's just really cool. And if you're ever doing a business specifically, I think sports are a good option.
Yeah, right. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like it's one of those things where if you can give back, give back. So really cool. Anyway, we're going to jump into what you all came here for the video. This is an update 7 months later, how our $100 investment videos have done. And before we get into this, Mitch crushed me. Flat out, Mitch crushed me. But I still specifically remember we kind of went over these together, right? You had some cards that I didn't, but I also said, oh, like, why don't you use this one? And you said, why don't you mention this guy? So it kind of worked out that way. And please keep in mind, please, disclaimer here. Boom, disclaimer. We'll pop it up through editing. Disclaimer. We had to hit within the $100 budget, so there's a few cards here where instead of telling you to get the chromes or the young guns, like I am always telling you all to do, I mentioned a few off-brand cards just to kind of mention the player, hoping that maybe some people would go out and buy the player's cards. So with that being said, without further delays, because I'm bad at that, I'm jumping into it. Card number 1, let's see, Adam Fox Young Gun. I purchased this back then 7 months ago for $4, and now it's a grand total of $10.
Yeah, and this is shipped too, right? So the cards that we bought at?
Yeah, so
That's pretty
the
impressive.
prices that I'm mentioning that we bought them at were including shipping. This is just prices not including shipping.
Yeah, and it's CAD, Canadian. So
yeah,
the conversion rate from Canadian to USD is about 125. So give or take 25%, the difference between Canada and US. And basically our dollar is worth about 75 cents US around.
Yeah, it really fluctuates between sometimes even 70 and 75. But regardless, Adam Fox, what more can I say about him? I'm going to prove to Mike DiStefano, part of NHL Locked On podcast, that at even now $10, I believe he's a great buy. He's on a young up-and-coming New York Rangers team who presumably will get, well, they do have the #1 pick, but presumably they will get Alexi Lafreniere. And if that happens, this offensive-minded defenseman, who probably could have even won Rookie of the Year in my opinion, he's going to do big things. He had a really good rookie season. I know he's a defenseman, but you got to look at it from the perspective of $10. Can it reach 20? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking to do. So that's card number 1. Do you want to go with your card number 1?
Yeah, so my card number 1 was going to be Jiren Jackson Jr. So, for whatever reason, I was on eBay a long time ago, and for 35 bucks Canadian shipped, I got a graded 10. I call Barbershop Prism.
Yeah.
So again, kind of the, you know, talk a little bit about getting the right brand of cards. Prism was the card to get.
Yeah.
Prism has been, for basketball, the card brand to get. I know there's Mosaic, there's Optic, there's all this. Prism is the one to get. For whatever reason, I kind of got lucky. I heard about him a while ago. He was very low-key at the time, but he was my big winner. I paid $35. This card recently sold for $230. So I made $190 profit on this card already. So he's injured right now. Will he go up? I'm going to have to look at his age, determine where he's at. But I'm ready to sell this pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I believe that's a guy who also went to MSU, so correct me if I'm wrong down below in the comment section. But if that's the case, Tom Izzo knows what he's doing. So that's a great profit. And again, this video is almost to say, you know, 7 months ago, we gave you picks, and trust me, guys, you could have done very well with your ROI.
I'm sure somehow.
Had you put that, oh, and I know there have been, I've received countless messages, so thank you all for everyone who's actually reached out, just saying thank you. I mean, it goes a long way, so thank you all so much for that. Now, my second card is a classic example of, well, you know, I needed $10 more for the sake of the video. I had a card and I put it. Obviously, if we had a higher budget, I would tell you to buy the Young Gun, because Andrei Svechnikov is one of the hottest NHL players right now in terms of productivity, in terms of goal scoring, in terms of maybe even team being those bunch of jerks. Those bunch of jerks who, you know, go to consistently beat up on the Bruins. But anyway,
he's 20 years old.
He's
from
20.
Russia,
he's 20
right?
years. And I actually told everyone to buy the OPC Platinum. And classic case of why you get the Young Guns, because I purchased that for $10 and right now it's going for $7. So boo, I lost $3. With that being said, I personally purchased that $10. Why I don't have the card in my hand, why it's the Young Gun, I actually sold it on eBay for about $18. So, you know, didn't make tons of money, but I made enough. But anyway, all that to say, Andrei Svechnikov clearly having himself a hell of a playoff run.
Now, would you say that Andrei Svechnikov at the time of this video is worth a buy right now?
I would argue he's more of a hold, right? Like if you do have him, hold him, because I feel like after playoffs you'll be able to get him for maybe 50, but even $75, $80, what he is now for a Young Gun, a great price. And when you look as a whole of Carolina Hurricanes, that's a young defensive-minded team with Aho, with you know, Svechnikov himself, with Nietzsche. I mean, there's a lot of guys who are capable of putting the puck in the net, and I feel like their time is coming. And whether or not they win a cup, yes, I understand that they're not in the greatest market in Carolina, but those players, I mean, highlight real goals. We saw what they did with the Michigan goal, with the lacrosse goal twice, and Andrei Svechnikov.
Highlights, man, the swag, the poise that he has on the ice is different,
Unbelievable.
right? I mean, that's a card. I believe I pulled that specific card from the pack.
I pulled that card.
Was it you that pulled it from pack?
Mine.
But it was my pack.
Yes. So Mitch gave me
Tell
true
the story. It's funny.
We drove out to Chatham, Ontario, Canada, and we go to this new store, beautiful place. I believe it's called Rockets, and we buy packs and stuff. I probably shouldn't have bought stuff, but I did. So anyway, we're on the way home, and Mitch is driving, so he's like, "Hey, like, open up this pack for me." I'm like, okay. So before I open it, he literally tells me, "You can keep one card out of there, any card you want to pull." We haven't pulled a Young Gun all day. So I pull this card and I'm grinning ear to ear, and I'm like, try not to show my face. And he's like, "Oh, what'd you pull?" And the guilt in me, mind you, at the time this card was $20, $25.
Yeah, it was early.
But the guilt in me, I knew I had to tell Mitch, because you got to be honest, you had no idea who Svechnikov was at the time. I don't think you knew.
No, I didn't know at the time. No.
This was a literally 19-year-old player in his rookie season. So Mitch didn't know who he was, and I told him, I'm like, dude, this guy's going to be a stud. Drafted second overall for a reason. He's got a cannon of a shot. So anyway, all that to say, we pulled this card, this specific.
It's a good-looking card. Like if you're, hold it up. Like if we're gonna show some B-roll shots too. Usually after we film these, I'll get some nice B-roll shots. But that's a nice card, man. Actually, you know what we're gonna do just to make this episode cool? We're gonna get these cards and we're gonna put it on my Edelkrone. Cool. So we'll get some slider and cool shots. But if you're gonna have a card, a rookie card of yourself, this is a good pose. Some cards don't turn out as good. Svechie in the red. Oh my.
Love is circles in. Love is first when it.
Wait till I show you all one of my cards. But anyway,
all right, let's move
off
on.
to you.
So number 2, I got another profit. So this card, I just over doubled my profit on it, and we've got a Trey Young Optic. This was the base. So again, we'll show a shot of when I said that. All day, $20. I mean, like, you can get it cheaper if you can.
Yep.
But this one I got for $20. This is going to be the Optic. I do have a different one as well, but this is the Optic base card. The reason I chose this is because the Prism ones are just getting pretty expensive, and I think people are going to start resorting to the Optic cards. And this card has performed quite well. As you may know, Trey Young's been a hot card. If you can get his Prisms, I have one of them, but he's very young, good talent, scores a lot of points, seems to do that in several games. Again, $20 I paid CAD, Canadian, and now this card recently sold for $50 on eBay. So again, we're using eBay metrics. That's what we're using right now. But again, that's my second one. So,
and mind you, the fact that the Hawks currently are not in playoffs probably currently reflects the price. So next season, if the Hawks make the playoffs, that $50 card on top of his actual regular season performance, that's going to be a lot higher. So I also want to mention, this is just a 7-month update, but I guarantee you for my third option, I got this Mika Zibanejad Young Gun card. I purchased it for $10. Today it's going for around 30. I guarantee you, guaranteed, this card will minimum be $45, $50 Canadian, maybe even higher by the end of next season's playoff run, because the New York Rangers are bound to make playoffs, especially with Alexei. I have a feeling that he'll be maybe not playing with Alexei since they're both centermen, but regardless, yeah, I got this for $10. Currently it's going for 30, and I feel like it's only going to go up.
So my next one is going to be RJ Barrett, and that's going to be hoops. So unfortunately, this was definitely one of the weakest investments. I think the main reason was because, well, we had to fill in 10 cards, right? So I did buy this card long before, and hasn't worked out the best. That comes down to buying the wrong brand, because had I have bought, which I don't think it even came out yet at the time, but the Prism RJ Barrett, that would have gotten a decent ROI. But again, it comes down to getting the right brand of cards. For Zion, it worked out because he's been hyped so much and performed quite well. RJ Barrett's still low-key. But yeah, so I paid $10 for that card and got a loss of $4. So that card's about $6 today. Do I think he's a good buy right now? I do, maybe over the next few years. He's a good hold. But would I tell you to buy him? I would maybe take a look at Bird's next few players.
Wow, that's interesting, because I would actually even buy that card because there's another.
$10.
I'm not gonna buy it off you when I can buy it for $6. But again, there's just another card that you have mentioned, same series, that is just proof that NBA hoops can be worth something. My fourth card that I mentioned, the Polar Bear, Pete Alonso, Topps Chrome. I got this card for $10. Well, pardon me. At the time, it was going for 10. I think I got it for $6.50.
You got this card
right?
cheap.
So I didn't want to mention that I got it for $6.50 for the sake of this. I'll say I got it for 10. But anyway, now it's going for about $30 raw ungraded, because that's what I mentioned. So $30 raw ungraded. I also called that he wouldn't have the greatest of season in 2020, just because it's shortened in pro length. Pardon me, it's shortened, not pro length. But in terms of a career, over, if you give him 162, he's consistently going to be one of the premier home run hitters. So, but again, that's a pretty good profit, turning $10 into 30 in 7 months.
He hit a bomb the other day. Yeah, I think he'll be fine.
I think he'll be fine too.
How old is he now?
I don't think he's 25 yet, but I think he's around 24. So
yeah, but he's probably getting into his prime soon. But like, a lot of these guys are quite young. So
yeah.
Okay, so my next one is going to be another hoops, and this is going to be Morant. So again, everybody's loving him. He's definitely got that jumping ability. He's just got some swag to him. Again, another rookie class. I believe I pulled this one from a pack. I'm not quite sure because I was digging for Zion so much. But this card I got for $10 today, selling for about 25. So I've got several of these. And yeah, Morant, I would say he's definitely a good buy over the next 2-3 years. So yeah, a lot of new investors, new people getting into the market. They're gonna want to check out John Morant. He's gonna be an interesting buy. So again, decent profit. I mean, over doubled my money just on that card, and I have several.
And again, just want to mention this. This is a 7-month update, but the moment he wins Rookie of the Year, you can see a slight increase in price there too. So definitely a good buy.
Which I think he should win, by the way.
Yeah, no doubt. Zion being nominated is another thing for another episode.
I think he's great. He should be nominated based on what he did when he did come back. But since recently he hasn't been playing, then I understand why he shouldn't. But if he would have been keeping up with that streak, he literally was the most valuable player at one point, Zion, as a rookie, when he was on his streak.
Agree to disagree, and we'll move on.
Yeah, okay.
Probably my best investment here, personally, again, I'm a New York Rangers fan, but I purchased this PSA 9 shipped to my door for $20.50. $20.50, not bad. This is a Artemi Panarin. He's so loved as a New York Ranger. And again, young up-and-coming team. Mika had a breakout year. Alexi Lafreniere is coming. And with Alexi coming in, they're likely going to get more RFAs, free agents, throughout the summer too. So we're going to see what happens there. Maybe even pair him with Kako when Kako starts playing better. But regardless, he might even win MVP himself this season.
Yeah.
So if that happens, oh boy, that's going to go up in value. But again, I purchased for $20.50. Right now, PSA 9s for Panarin are going around for $60. So I'm happy with that return.
Yeah. So Artemi Panarin, I was just talking to a couple friends too. He's on our list, our radar list. So we're just telling you, we're going to be honest, transparent. He's a guy that I'm buying him. I'm looking into buying him. Right now, I honestly don't own any, but probably at the time of this video, I might have 1 or 2. I'll
even go out as far as saying is right now, $60 for a PSA 9 is a pretty good steal. I mean, you compare him to other superstars like Jack Eichel, maybe he's not on Matthews' level. Points-wise, he definitely was. Even goals-wise, he was right there. So when you look at an MVP candidate and his PSA 9s are going for $60, and Matthews' PSA 9s are going for in the hundreds of dollars, even Eichel, hundreds of dollars, it at least to me, yeah, he's a bit older, but it tells me that for, again, a young up-and-coming Rangers team who's bound to eventually make a playoff run, that $60 is a pretty good price.
Yeah, so. Amazing. All right, so we've got the next one. And just recently, this guy had a game-winning shot. And I don't know, people were talking about him. I believe I was watching some YouTube channels. And I'm like, people were talking about this Kyle Kuzma character. So I picked up a Kyle Kuzma Optic rookie card for $5. It now sold recently for $13. So doubled my money on that, if not more. Yep. So, 130% return on that, pretty much.
Wait for the playoff.
Good looking card. Yeah. The reason too that just made so much logical sense that we talk about all the time. Research, but also have a logical idea. This guy is playing with Anthony Davis and obviously the King LeBron James. I mean, come on, young player playing with these guys, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. So good card. If this had been a Prism, probably would have made more return. But again, that was my next one.
Yeah, not bad. This next one, I thought he was going to have a better year based off last season, even the season before. But there's still time for him to make another deep playoff run. They knocked off Connor McJesus, and that's Alex DeBrincat. So I got this Alex DeBrincat card. I purchased more, but again, for the time of the video, you could have got this for $15.
Yep.
And now it's going for $15. So kind of we'll call it evened out there for Alex DeBrincat. But in my opinion, he's still one of the better young elite goal scorers. Maybe not elite, but I mean, you can still expect 30, 35 goals from this kid. And with all the young upcoming talent for the Chicago Blackhawks, we look at literally last night, Kirby Dack scored, Dominic Kubalik scored, in Boquist, and those are all their young players. So, yeah, you have Taze, yeah, you have Kane, and they're getting older, but the future is young and bright within the Blackhawks organization. So, again, I didn't profit, but off to you.
Yeah. All right. So the next one I got probably I wouldn't say my worst investment, but one of my investments, I kind of knew even going into it, this isn't going to be the best return. Kevin Biggio. So this is a Kevin Biggio, $10 for the tops. Looks like is this a Topps Chrome?
That's a Topps Chrome.
That is it. It doesn't even say Chrome.
Well, in the video, at least, you mentioned Topps Chrome.
Yeah.
So this particular card is not a Topps Chrome.
Yeah.
But I do remember because I watched it.
This is more like a
30 minutes
refractor, top silver or something.
Right.
Anyways, this is like a parallel of a Topps Kevin Biggio. I think he's got a little ways to go. I believe his father played in the MLB.
Yep.
But again, $10. Card's still worth $10. So again, it's just one of those cards where, you know, you're trying to diversify. You know, you kind of take a chance on a guy. Luckily, he hasn't gone down. So
I would personally buy Kevin Biggio Topps Chrome for $10 today. I feel like his sample size is pretty small. He didn't play all last season, and this season, I don't even think they're 20 games into it. So, has he even played a full season in the major leagues yet? No, he hasn't. And his father, 3,000 hit, literally a Hall of Famer, being Kevin Biggio. So,
yeah.
I see a lot of potential in him. My next card was switching sports, quarterback, Dwayne Haskins Jr. I purchased this card for $15 Canadian. Today it's going for $25. Again, in football's off season, so just thought I'd mention that. Here's a guy who was, you know, basically benched. Never really got to play much at all last season. I think he played about 6 starts, and he did fairly well when he was allowed to throw the football. For whatever reason, they just wouldn't allow Dwayne Haskins to throw the football downfield. Maybe it's because they had AP, but regardless, watch out, because $25 right now to me for a quarterback prism, super cheap, super affordable even, and watch out, that's going to be a $50 card minimum if there's a football season coming up.
Yeah, I picked one up recently too. That was one guy we were talking about.
It's one of my most hyped investments. It hasn't done well, particularly for the sake of this video, but watch, it's going to do very well.
Yeah, I've got an on-card auto one too that's pretty interesting. So my number one, I mean, Jiren Jackson Jr., JJJ, he was probably the best return. But I got, in terms of amount of cards, I picked up so many of these Zions. Like, I literally picked up, I think even right now, at this point of this video, I got about 50 of these hoops, but I have about 25 ready for grading. So, again, I was saying this card is going to be over $100 because he's just hype.
It will be.
He's got the potential, and next year, granted, if he comes back and gets the minutes, he'll be fine. I was picking these up, actually, it says $10 in the video, but that's because I didn't want to tell people, but I was picking them up for $5. Like max.
I remember.
Like I was picking them up in lots, really for $5. Now they're about $40. So again, this is a Zion Williamson hoops card. Again, you got to get the ones that are centered right. And just to preach on the whole prism thing again, had I bought in prisms, I would have had to pay a little bit more, but the returns would have been much greater as well. So
for sure. And shout out to Les Alex, because he did a video in terms of which guys would you rather buy. This is going to be another classic example of, for the sake of the $100 budget, I couldn't fit in this guy. So Ronald Acuna, couldn't fit him in, but I could fit in his Bowman First. This isn't a Chrome, this is just Bowman First. $10.50. Today it's going for a whopping $40. And when he starts hitting the crap out of the ball again, like I know he can, hashtag Acuna Matata,
yeah.
It's only going to go higher. I feel like that's a team who capable of winning a World Series within the next couple of years. So I got him nearly a $30 return. Again, if it were tops, my goodness. I'm going to close it out here too, since I have the last one.
Yeah. But at the same time, I was buying these every weekend. I would put $10 in to buy a Topps Chrome.
Ridiculous.
This was like, what, 7 months ago?
Yeah.
When we were talking about them, I was going through the stats, and I'm like, I'm going to buy a Topps Chrome.
I remember telling
like
you, I'm like,
10 weeks straight.
I remember telling you, buy this guy.
And this is one of the ones I got for $10. Now it's a graded 9.5.
So that's him. So for the sake of this video, this is Fernando Tatis Jr. As Mitch says, Fernando Tatis. It's a Topps Chrome. $10. This card was $10 all day for a Chrome,
All day.
which sounds ridiculous now.
Canadian shipped.
Which sounds, yeah, that includes shipping.
Dude,
and the price just to buy it, not including shipping today. All the prices from like the now, what they're worth today, are not including shipping. This is worth $80
Yeah.
Canadian. And it likely will be worth more as he continues to steal bases, hit home runs, drive in runs. He's doing it all. Fernando Tatis Jr. is. And again, $10 is what we were buying for that. So
Amazing.
I feel like that's just incredible. Again, Mitch bought multiple because they were only $10. But myself,
Yeah.
you know, kind of struggling with like rent and other things like that. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. And now it's like, I should have just let my wife be upset.
Tell you what, I'll sell you one for $10.
I'll buy it.
Because I have 12.
I'm not gonna say no to that. I'll buy
Yeah.
that. Don't take the loss, of course. I'll be fine.
Yeah, well, I got some for you. Don't worry.
So again, I told you all, Mitch did a lot better than I did, but I think I still did pretty well because on other investments, I think I did well too. But again, for the sake of this $100 budget video, I turned $100 into $297 for a $197 profit. I'll give myself a little round of applause because that's not bad.
I was also picking up your cards, and I'm sure you were picking up some of these guys as well.
Yes, I was.
So
Particularly Zion.
in terms of an investment,
Yeah.
I was picking up Svechnikov at about $30-40, which I still own, and I've graded some. I picked up 5 Acuna US 250s that graded 10s. I will say that I have invested into these cards, and I've done well listening to Bird. So a lot of these picks are mostly Bird, and some of them have been mine, like Jiren Jackson. But other than that, Kyle Kuzma and Jiren Jackson, Bird's been on this, and Zion.
Yeah.
I own
Specifically
Zion.
Zion I've been on too. I mean,
Yeah, Bird was on him too.
you don't have to like a guy to invest in him. You gonna tell them your profit?
Yeah, so for a $100 investment 7 months ago, if I sold all these cards today on eBay, I could get about $374 Canadian.
Not bad.
So that's a profit of $274. So that's a net. That's pretty good. So again, we're going to be doing this again probably sometime next year when we have a new lineup of players.
Right.
Hashtag Lafreniere.
Yeah, and I mean, now that the video's out too, right? You guys can see the players in the specific cards, so maybe we won't do like another update to this one because obviously there's guys like Alonso I'm gonna hold on to. Now I do own a Young Gun Svechnikov I'm gonna hold on to. The Acuna. So anyway, there's guys I'm gonna hold on to that maybe it won't warrant. You know, an update video, but maybe on the Facebook I'll just say, hey, like update on this card, like it's doing really well. Because another guy who I gotta give a shout out to, Sebastian Aho, I've mentioned him multiple times on streams, on episodes, on so many different things, and he's the current point leader in NHL total points. And a lot of people told me, hey, you know what, this is a young, frail Finnish kid, what's he gonna do? Well, what's he gonna do is rack up points.
Yeah, so another player on the Rockies, you know who he is.
That's Charlie Blackman, but Charlie Blackman is 34 years old.
That's what I noticed that, and I'm
34.
like, man, some of these people that are a little bit older, that's to bring it back to, I believe, Artemi Panarin. I believe
Yeah.
he's about 26, 27 years old.
Older, he's like 28.
He's 28 years old. Typically, we preach about getting younger players and riding up their investments in their prime.
Yeah.
28's not a bad age. It's just, you know, it's easier if a guy's 20 on the radar, you get massive returns. But, you know, there are players that we've been kind of noticing at that age, they have more experience and they're well
Specifically
developed.
for playoffs. So if you guys haven't already joined our Red Cape Sports Facebook page, go ahead and do that because there's a little
helps us.
community right now
it
during
helps us.
NHL playoffs. And people are consistently identifying literally like Young Gun cards for $5 or less.
I get
Dylan
messages
Dubé was a
every
guy
day.
who people mentioned, and he's off to a hot start with Calgary. Someone else mentioned, I want to say, who is it? Anthony Beauvillier. I've kind of kept him to myself. Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Didn't tell
but
me.
I picked up a ton of Anthony Beauvillier for about $6.
Never told me,
And
guys. Never
he's-
told me.
so-
Hey, you could have bought 100 Zions like I did. You
Could have
didn't.
bought 100.
I don't know why nobody bought 100 Zions. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
It's kind of hard when you own the whole market.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. Again, we know that it was a lengthy one. Shout out to you, Chanel. Thank you so much for this.
We are also selling coasters too. So I've got tons of Lonzo Ball cards and rookie cards. He's the most useless player I've ever seen. Anyways, I don't even want to talk about him. I'm sure you've seen the beginning of the episode, but we're going to be burning this card and using them as coasters because that's about as useful as he is.
Oh my goodness, you hate that guy.
I hate Lonzo Ball.